a question around artificial intelligence, Mark, and do you
All right.
recommend it for either coming up with posts or for helping with commenting? Have you seen it be used well, or do you tend to see it and think it reflects badly on people?
No, I don't think it. I mean, obviously, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, it can be a really useful tool, but if it's overdone, it isn't. People are always looking for shortcuts and easy wins and solutions and hacks and, you know, and there's something appealing about it, isn't there? There's something that just excites people about, oh, did you know by just doing this, all of this can happen? I kind of learned many years ago to be always very skeptical of anything like that. When AI first started sort of showing its head, my immediate reaction is it's going to be like automation. It's just going to be damaging. But it doesn't have to be, and it can be a very useful tool. Someone once said to me, the best way to think about AI is like an intern that works for you. And if you give them clear instructions, they'll go away and do a lot of the donkey work for you, which will really speed up what you're trying to do and help you. But you're not going to send an intern in to do something really important, right? It wouldn't be right to do that, and that wouldn't be right for them either. But don't give them too much responsibility. Just allow them to help you, as long as you are clear in your instructions. And I think that's a very good description of AI for me. You know, would it take over the world? Would it, you know, mean people aren't doing jobs? You know, we will all be living a life of leisure in 30 years time, 10 years time. Maybe, I don't know. All I know is that from a LinkedIn perspective, there are a lot of benefits to using AI, but only as a tool. So I'll give you an example. One of the things types of content that I've always found baffling and frustrating is when people read something. Let's say it's external to LinkedIn. It could be on LinkedIn, but let's say it's external. So I don't know, let's say they're working in a certain market, right? Whatever that might be. They're reading industry website, right? So a form of, you know, press of some sort in that industry. And there's an article that they immediately think to themselves, that's an interesting article. I've read it. It's interesting. And I think my followers on LinkedIn will find that useful. So what they do is they post the article. Now, it's either, if it was on LinkedIn, it might just be a repost, or they take the URL from that article and they post it on LinkedIn. And they're doing it with the best intentions, i.e., I think you'll find this interesting. And they think it's going to be useful. But in reality, that type of content will never do very well. And it's a bit lazy. Now, what I've traditionally said to people like that is, well, if you think that article is really good and you think it really adds value, then what I think you should be doing is sitting down with a little pen and paper and writing 5 points that you think are a good summary of that content. And then you should be creating your own post and talking about those 5 points and ask people to come up with whatever they think and create a discussion around that particular topic. Now, it's probably wise within that to say that this post was inspired by reading this article at whatever, right? Absolutely. But they don't need and are not asking for and don't deserve necessarily you just posting their content, right? Use that as stimulation for your own content. By all means, mention them. That's right to do so. But if you just post it, then it's their content. It's never yours. Now, the problem with that, of course, is that takes time and effort. Now, I might have argued, look, it's time well spent. That's good content. It's very relevant content. You should be spending that time. But AI can massively help with that, because you can literally now just go, here's an article, summarize the 5 most important points from this, and it will give them to you. Now, that doesn't mean that you take those 5 points and paste them into LinkedIn. What it means is, because it's an intern, right? So you're saying to the intern, go away and read this article. I want you to summarize the 5 most important points, and then have a look at those 5 and see what you think. Do you think they really are the 5 most important points? Is there anything you would change about that? Maybe change the wording of it. and maybe think about questions that you could ask around that. So it's good for that. I think that's a great use of AI.
Really interesting. I read a report this week about BCG, one of the world's top strategy consultancies, and they've invested massively in AI. And it was sort of them drawing a line in the sand and saying, right, we've gone back now and researched how has this been beneficial, in what scenarios, and in what scenarios has it not been beneficial. And the very simple message was where the BCG staff had used their own AI to help with more junior tasks, with simpler tasks, it had saved them 30 to 40% in terms of improving their productivity. It had been a massive time saver. But where they'd attempted to use it to do more complicated things, then it had actually resulted in, I think it was a 23% drop in productivity.
Oh, wow.
Because they were having to go back and check everything that the AI was producing, because you can't just rely on it producing something that is actually true. And there have been quite a few news items about law firms that have used AI to prepare materials before cases where it's turned out that some of that material has been fabricated. But to link that back to your point, Mark, I think it's absolutely right. If you're using it as an intern, to help you come up with some ideas of things you might post about, then fabulous. But if you're asking it to actually, analyze the data or write the post for you in full, then it's going to do, less good of a job of that than you probably would have been able to do yourself.